Many of you have indicated a need for medical referrals related to psychiatric matters. Well, my new sponsor, ZocDoc, is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors who would be right for needs such as bipolar disorder, anxiety, and depression, or many other issues of that nature. ZocDoc has over 100,000 healthcare providers across the United States with all sorts of specialties inside of the mental health system, family medicine, and many other subcategories. So you can use the link that's below this video here, ZocDoc.com/Dr. Carter, and see actual appointment openings and choose a time that works for you. And in doing so, you would be helping support my channel as well. Just know that ZocDoc is a service that I would gladly recommend. Part of the reason that narcissists can be so difficult is they're not teachable. And I know that many of you, as you've engaged with narcissistic individuals, you think, look, I just want to talk with them about who I am and what I think, and maybe there's a different way that we can look at things, and you find yourself just running into their brick wall. Narcissists operate with what I refer to as imperative thinking. And when I use that word imperative, being imperative means that you're in high command mode. There's a certain way things ought to be, and you have words in your vocabulary, easy for me to say, like have to, must, can't, should, supposed to, got to, had better. Anything that more or less says there's a certain way things ought to be, and let's get after it. Now, in contrast to that, when we examine who we really are and what we're facing as we engage with anybody and everybody in the world, there are three facts that I want to highlight here today that shut down the mindset that the narcissist brings toward you, especially when you're in moments of strain and difficulty with them. And when I say shut down, I mean these three facts illustrate that their mindset that they bring to you is deficient. So here they are. Fact number one, what you know, you do not know completely. Now, by that I mean, whenever there's something that you feel extremely certain about, there's always going to be another angle that we can take a look at. And there's always going to be someone else's perspective that may give you some insight that you hadn't considered before. Fact number two, and that is what you recall. You do not always recall perfectly. And again, by that I mean that there are times when we remember things, but we don't necessarily take into account nuance or a person's backstory or the context in which certain events happen. We don't always remember everything perfectly. And then number three, what you desire will not always satisfy. Just because you say you want something and you think it's going to make you really happy and feeling content doesn't mean it's going to be the case. Now, what I'd like to do today is I'd like to break those three facts down, and I want to show you how each of those statements that I just made can show you how bankrupt and deficient the narcissist way of life is. Let's take the first one. What you know, you don't know completely. Let's keep in mind, narcissists, as I just mentioned with their imperative thinking, they want to have certainty. In their mind, it's like, hey, look, there's a certain way that things ought to be. There's a certain interpretation we need to have. And it's the height of arrogance when they come toward you with the notion that says, if I think something, if I feel something, then it has to be factual. But that's how they think, and they don't make room for the fact that other individuals can have a wealth of insight and knowledge and information, or just a simple perspective that makes their certain thoughts maybe just a little bit more pliable. They can't go into that space. Once they have it fixed in their mind, it's fixed. It's set in cement. In other words, one of the two of the most dangerous words a narcissist can think are the words "I know," because it leads to them being controlling and stubborn and having obnoxious arguing habits, closed-minded, etc. Now, that second fact that I mentioned, what you recall, you do not recall perfectly. Let's think about how we respond to the conflicts that we have with another individual. And as we're trying to break it down, we're gonna count on our memories to help us figure out how we're going to interpret things. Now, as we talk about our differences, we may be remembering something that happened 30 minutes ago or earlier today, or it may be that we're drawing upon memories about childhood experiences. For example, how my mother was, or what it was like in my peer set, or maybe somewhere in between. It's inevitable that when narcissists draw upon their memories, they tend to do so with a confirmation bias. And by that I mean they remember the elements of whatever is going on that suit their cause. And in doing so, they don't pick up on nuances. For example, they can say, well, all I know is this morning you were in a bad mood. And the rest of the story is, that person that they're accusing just got off a phone call and something disastrous had happened at work, and so they sure enough may have been crabby. But they recall things in such a way that suits their personal bias. Or it could be that they'll say, yeah, in my family, we had some people that were just awful to me. And sure enough, it may have been true, but it may not be that they understand why that person was awful. It could have been that they themselves were sitting on a pile of tension and strain and unresolved issues, and they interpret the events based on some things that they just didn't really know about. The bottom line is, whenever we engage with one another, there's always something else going on that's part of the memories that we have. And smart people will say, let's bring that into consideration. And the narcissists, again, they think if I remember it, then that's the way it is. And don't try to bring me into other ways of thinking. And then that third fact that I mentioned, what you desire will not always satisfy. You see, narcissists will approach you or relationships or circumstances with a certain kind of idealism. And that's kind of odd for me to say that, because so many times they can come across as so negative and pessimistic and grouchy, and you're thinking they have idealism? And by that I mean they think, well, all I know is I have this dream, I have this vision of what's going to make me feel happy, what's going to make me feel complete, what's going to make me feel gratified. And basically, they desire things like your deference to them. I want you to just do what I tell you to do. They desire certain superficial signs of success. Very commonly, they think, well, if I dress correctly, or if I'm connected to the right people, or if I have this kind of money, or if I have this reputation, then I'm going to be a real somebody. Or most of all, they desire dominance. It's like, well, I just wish people could understand how much better I am and how much better my reasoning is. So you look at these three facts. What you know, you do not know completely. What you recall, you do not recall perfectly. What you desire is not always the most satisfactory. When you look at these three facts, it's like, well, that actually is something that each one of us has to come to terms with. The bottom line is, none of us is so certain, none of us is so complete in our approach toward life that we can't learn. So as a healthy individual, I'm hoping that you can begin your approach towards yourself and toward other individuals with a certain amount of humility. And that would lead to alternative thoughts that you would carry. For example, you would think, first, I can accept the fact that I just don't have all the answers. I'm perfectly satisfied in saying it because I don't know everything there is to know. Or there's no need for me to superimpose my distinctions upon other individuals. There's a reason that we have variety in this world, and we can learn from each other in our uniqueness and in our distinctions. And then we can acknowledge characteristics like being teachable. And we can prioritize characteristics like being open to input or being flexible, having patience, being tolerant of miscalculations, my miscalculations, your miscalculations. We can emphasize characteristics like self-restraint. Now, built into the mindset of healthy individuals, as a result, are certain characteristics that are not all this hard imperative certainty, but characteristics like accommodation for new insights, curiosity about myself, curiosity about you, a willingness to listen, an attitude of fair-mindedness as opposed to being judgmental, willing to take time to ponder things. I recall one guy who had many narcissistic influences in his life, and he was kind of going down that path. I just made a simple comment to him once, and I said, we're going to need to be pensive in the way that we look at this. And he looked at me and said, "What's pensive?" And it's like nobody's ever taught me to think very deeply about anything. And that's what we wanted to do in our therapy office. As you go down your more healthy path, you'll have a desire to be compassionate. You're going to be willing to give people the benefit of the doubt when it's necessary. And you're going to be willing to admit your own personal mistakes. Now, in their deep history, narcissists developed a very strong need for self-preservation. And self-preservation in and of itself is not a bad thing. There are times when we need to do it, but they have too much of a good thing. And so they concluded it's not safe for me to show, much less admit my own frailties. And as a result, they're in a constant game of cover-up, and then they practice what we refer to as the defense mechanism of reaction formation. They try to present themselves as the opposite of what they really are. I'm insecure, but I'm going to try to present myself as being secure. That's reaction formation. Now, if you're on Team Healthy, one of the things that you would like to say to that person is, well, why don't you join me in the effort to be authentic? And the narcissist would think, that's too scary for me. Please don't include me in your search for honesty. And my response to that is going to be, okay, I won't. But in the meantime, I'm going to be a lifelong learner, and I'm going to seek safe people to connect with, and I'm going to commit myself to being a safe person to others. And so I'm hoping you can take these three truths and think, well, this gives me something to consider as I engage with others. Narcissists can't do it, which is why, as I said right in the beginning, they prove to be not teachable. Now, I hope that videos such as this can give you some good awareness of what you're dealing with. If you have not already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. We're going to keep more videos coming towards you. Now, perhaps you're aware now that I have another new sponsor, and these are the individuals at ZocDoc.com, and it's a website where you can seek out professionals who can assist you medically for issues, for example, like bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety, anything that has to do with mental health, or for family practice kinds of issues, and much more. So please go below and check out the link to ZocDoc, see what they have to offer. I'm really excited that they're a part of our team here and something that we have to offer to you. So I hope that you can take advantage of it as the need is there. Now, in addition, on my website, we have access to my courses, and you're very familiar with those. Each course has at least 25 teaching videos, and each video has handouts and guided questions. We have anger games, This Is Me, Free to Be, Ready, Set, Connect. They're all on the website that you can check that out, along with access to my webinars, which are 90-minute PowerPoint presentations. They're still very available to you. And then my articles, access to my podcasts, my books, plenty of resources. Okay, like I said, narcissists can be very difficult because they're not teachable. But when we examine the fact that, not everything we think or do is ideal and perfect, and we can accept that and move forward with the idea that says, well, good, I get to learn, I get to grow, and I get to be expansive. I'm hoping that you can think that way, and in doing so, distinguish yourself from those narcissistic controlling individuals. And as you go into the more healthy direction, I'm hoping it positions you to be a person both of steadiness and then one who is able to find consistent peace.